Okay, so today we're going to do a Scotch whiskey review. This is the Highland Park single malt Scotch whiskey, 12-year. It's one of my favorite ones. If there was one Scotch I could have before I died, this would probably be it. This is from Orkney, which is a chain of islands off the north coast of Scotland, and they have a very strong Scandinavian influence. They're almost even with Norway, so it's pretty far up there. It's the most northerly distillery in Scotland. It is aged in sherry casks from Spain, so it's got a sherry influence. It's a peated whiskey, which is interesting because most of the peated whiskies are from the island of Islay, which is off the west coast of Scotland, and those peated whiskies taste sometimes like medicinal, like burnt rubber. This is not like that at all, actually. And one of the reasons they claim is that the peat that well, to explain for those that don't realize, peated whiskey means that they take the barley, the malted barley, and they put it on a kiln and they smoke it over a peat fire, and the smoke from the peat infuses into the barley and it gives it a smoky flavor. The peat that they use in Orkney is a little different, apparently, from the peat that they use in Islay. The peat in Orkney doesn't have really root matter in it because there's not many trees on Orkney. I could be wrong, but I think there actually might not be any trees on Orkney. There might be a few, but it's not that many. And that root matter not being in there basically gives the peat a little bit of a sweeter taste. This also is completely natural, the color. A lot of Scotch whiskey distilleries, unfortunately, they add in E150 caramel coloring to stabilize the color. Basically, single malt scotches are made from different vats of, well, basically they take all these whiskeys from different casks, they mix them together, and from year to year the color of the whiskeys might change. And to mitigate this, the distilleries add a touch of this caramel coloring, which doesn't really taste like anything, but in fact they've done taste tests where people can't pick it up when it's put in water. They can't tell during a blind taste test, so it apparently doesn't taste like anything. Most of your blended whiskeys like Johnny Walker, Doors, Chivas, all those, they all use this caramel coloring, and a lot of single malts as well. Most of them, actually. And Highland Park is one of the few that does not. And they claim it's just so that people, they think that if people buy a whiskey and the color changes, then they'll lose confidence in the product. Honestly, I think this is misguided. I don't think there's any research that shows that. In fact, I can't even tell the difference between one bottle of Highland Park to another. So I don't know what all the fuss is about as far as the changing of color. I think it's very misguided. I think when you're able to say it's a natural product, completely natural color, it inspires more confidence than when you add in E150 coloring and then people find out that it's in there, and then they basically are mad because they feel like they've been taken for a ride. But this is a completely natural color for Highland Park. That's what it looks like. And like we said, this is aged 12 years. And they have different ranges, but this is the 12-year. It means at least 12 years. There might be casks in there that aged a little longer. Because like we said, to make a bottle of single malt scotch, they take various casks and they mix them together. Some might be older than others. It's at least 12 years old. Still a little nosing. Yep, that's what it looks like in there, huh? You definitely smell a little peat in there. The peat is, like we said, it's a little different. It's a sweet peat, so it's like peat and smoke and sweetness. And I guess the best way to describe it is if you walk outside during fall or Christmas season, and sometimes you start to smell people's fireplaces going. It smells like that, like a sweet fireplace smell, like a sweet wood burning. So it's got a really nice, sweet, smoky scent to it. And the taste. When you first get it in your mouth when you hold it on the tip of your tongue. It starts off a little bit sweet, kind of like honey. If you took some honey out of the jar in your kitchen and put some on a spoon, you get that flavor just for a split second. And then as you chew it and swallow it, the flavor goes smoky. And actually, if you wait a little longer, you'll have a smoky flavor in your mouth, like if you just smoked a cigar. So those of you that smoke cigars, that's the kind of the finish. It leaves that type of finish in your mouth as if you've just been smoking a cigar. So that's the Highland Park, and I definitely recommend it. If you're just starting out with Scotch, it's not a bad one to start with. As far as peated whiskies goes, maybe if you want to start with, if you've never had a single malt Scotch, you might be best with starting with Glenlivet or Glenmorangie, and then this one is a nice change from that. Those are both good Scotches, but this is a good one to start with if you're going to try peated whiskey. So I definitely recommend it. It's great whiskey, balanced all around. Thanks.